This will define everything for the Dallas Cowboys, as with their matchup this upcoming Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles, it's as close to a must-win game as there is. But Dak Prescott has had some very good success against NFC East opponents in AT&T Stadium, but is he going to be fully healthy? We talk about it here in today's video in a special edition of Cowboys Digest. Jace Andrews here joining alongside my good friend from Eagles Digest, Alex Brooks, And today we're going to kind of break down this matchup and also talk about the health of Dak Prescott. But we're going to start and just go quickly into the little bit of the 24-20 game in the first week of the regular season. We know that the Eagles obviously are a different team. We know the Cowboys are a different team. But Alex, kind of looking at this matchup from an Eagles standpoint, how do y'all view it? Because I know we view it as like, okay, this is a pretty important game for our playoff odds.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're not in that same position as like we need this game in order to, get into the playoffs, because I feel like the Eagles right now, they're 8-2. They're riding a lot of the drama that's going on this week. I think what the perspective from the Eagles right now is they're just trying to keep this train on the tracks. I think that there's a lot of different things that are going on in the media right now that are getting into the locker room. I think that it's affecting Jalen Hurts, it's affecting AJ Brown, but the one thing that it's not affecting is this defense. I think this defense has played one of its best two games of all the regular season against the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. So I think that the Eagles team right now, with a lot of weapons on offense and a lot of money invested into this offense, I think the number one thing they're relying on is their defense. How far can that take them? Well, they've been doing pretty good against two top NFC opponents in the Packers and the Lions.
Yeah, obviously Sunday Night Football for the Eagles this week, Monday Night Football for the Cowboys, some prime time for both of these guys this week. It's a 2:25 affair. I think overall, the real question mark, and we talked about this in your show, is not legitimately the additions on defense or the offense or how that all is going to entangle, but it's really going to be a matchup of the defensive coordinators, because maybe I'm a bit biased here, but I think that Dak Prescott and Jalen Hurts are comparable. I think that the offenses are relatively comparable, and so are the defenses to some extent, at least from last week in the way the Cowboys played. But defensive coordinating-wise, I can sit here and say all I want about what Matt Eberflus can do. Vic Fangio is, in my opinion, the best defensive coordinator in the NFL, and Matt Eberflus is nowhere close. And so knowing the Cowboys were able to hold this team to 24 points is something, but at the same time, Jalen Hurts went 19 for 23 with 152 yards last time, and also rushed for 62 yards. So having him being able to get out of the pocket is something that is going to be severely a problem. Kenny Clark, Osa Digizawa, and the offensive line, or the defensive line, I should say, for the Cowboys are going to do their best to stop him. But for Jalen Hurts, I can make all the running back accusations I want. He gets outside the pocket, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's what's the Eagles are trying to rely on as well. They're trying to rely on Jalen Hurts going more north-south with his running. I think when they put him out of the pocket, and especially when he goes to the left side, he is not as good as a quarterback, running back, whatever you want to call it. He's not as good as a runner when he's going off to his left side than when he's going north-south. So I think what the Eagles need to do is get more with their design runs up the middle to try to go at the teeth of this Dallas defense. And when you're looking at it, I mean, I feel like right now at our teams, I feel like we would want to trade coordinators. I feel like you'd be like, I would like to take something from Vic Fangio in our defense, and then we would like to take some of your offensive philosophy. So I feel like a lot of this matchup is that the Eagles doing well really on defense and kind of suspect on offense. And I think for Dallas, it's really good on offense, and against the Cardinals and the Broncos was really suspect on defense.
Yeah, and I think also a big factor of that is that the suspect is there, but it's also the mindset of Dak Prescott and what Dak Prescott we're going to get. I think that was a big part of that Cardinals game and of that Broncos game. Obviously, when you're playing from a deficit, he's kind of trying to mix up stuff. But some interesting stats, though, we got from Adam Schefter literally just moments ago, is that going into Sunday's game versus the Eagles, Dak Prescott is 21-2 at home versus NFC East opponents. His .913 home winning percentage in his division is the best of any QB since the 1970 merger. And the fact the last time Dak Prescott lost a home divisional game was 2017. However, I have to follow that up by saying that Dak Prescott was a limited participant in practice yesterday with a hip injury. Brian Schottenheimer has immediately come out and said that is something they're not too worried about, but obviously without Dak Prescott, that changes the game because I think you can know and tell firsthand, and I think you're hopefully, and I talking to you, I know you're a respectful Eagles fan. You know how good Dak Prescott can be. It's just if he actually plays that way.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not going to go in here and just say that Dak is just going to look like a pumpkin like he did, like with Jared Goff did on Sunday Night Football. I think Dak is going to really give this Eagles team a little bit of a run for their money because Dallas looked like they were going to get control of that game in week one. They were going down. They scored, I think they scored the first touchdown of the game, and they were really pulling out against the Philadelphia Eagles. I think what the best thing for the Philadelphia Eagles right now is that when they get punched in the mouth, they can punch back. And I think that's something with what's frustrating about this Eagles team is that they can't just dominate from the jump. They can't just go out to a 21-0 lead. They have to be battle tested in order for them to really respond. So I think with this matchup, it's the primetime matchup on Fox. So there's going to be definitely a lot of eyes on this Eagles and Cowboys game. So it's just about if, Jalen Hurts, if he's wanting a breakout game, it's going to be against Dallas, and definitely with the defense that's struggling, especially in the secondary. I think Eagles and Jalen Hurts is poised for a big game, trying to amidst the drama and trying to just throw it out the window.
One thing I want to focus on what you said there was the early part of the game has always been tough for the Eagles, and that was really true in the first time these two teams met to open up the season. Like you mentioned, Dallas went down really quickly. Defense got a quick stop on the Eagles' defense, and it looked like it was going to be a relatively good offensive game. It ended up being 24-20 and kind of a little less than we expected. Obviously, there was the drama in that game with some spitting violations on both sides. I think I'm willing to admit that Dak Prescott maybe spat at Davis. I don't think he spat into him, but at him. And then obviously we know what happened after that. But Dak Prescott in that game, 21 for 34 is not a crazy amount of number with 188 yards. The problem that I have and the thing that concerned me was his QBR wasn't great. Now, Dak tends to get better throughout the season if he's able to stay healthy. This year he's been able to do that. And CeeDee Lamb, that was the biggest part of that game. 7 receptions, 110 yards, yet he could have had at least another 3 receptions for another 70 yards. It could have easily been around a 200-yard night for CeeDee Lamb if it weren't for a couple drops. And so looking at this game, I think in a lot of ways that if you want to stop and say it's not the coordinators and not look at the coordinators, on the field, I'll pick one and you pick one, and that's how we can kind of finish up. But I'm going to pick a matchup that I'm watching, and it's truly going to be CeeDee Lamb and how he responds to knowing that last time he could have had 200 plus yards, and also the fact that now he has George Pickens in his full form. So this is going to be two really good wide receivers. So I'm very curious for the CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens versus the DBs, which are very good of the Eagles. That's my matchup to watch.
Honestly, I was going to agree. I think that is the matchup to watch for this game because you know how lethal both CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens can be when they stretch the field. But they are facing against one of the best young corners in the NFL, in Quinyon Mitchell. So I'm expecting him. He's been playing phenomenal.
One of the most
from
underrated
the
cornerbacks
Eagles' perspective.
In the league. One of the most
exactly.
Underrated.
Like he's been able to really perform against really top wide receivers. And I know a lot of people are like Quinyon Obey, but it is true. It is true. He's been able to lock up a lot of wide receivers. So I'm guessing.
Sorry, we can't be giving an island nickname when the last time it was Revis Island. We can't.
Yeah, I know, but
we gotta hold on. It's one season here, guy. Come on.
Hey, I mean, if he's able to do it this past season, you can't just call it a fluke.
This is
so
true,
I definitely
but it's
think
still we're still working up there.
No,
I
I
haven't
know,
heard that
but
nickname. That's a good one. That's a good nickname.
This game is going to be a big test to Quinyon Mitchell, and I think what they're going to see is they also know that, Adoree Jackson didn't have the greatest game against George Pickens. He was able to really light it up against Adoree Jackson. But since the Eagles trade deadline, with Jair Alexander, who hasn't been able to play, and then Michael Carter, Adoree Jackson has a fire lit beneath him. So he's definitely been playing for his job. And then you also have Cooper DeJean, who's one of the best nickel corners in all of NFL. So you really have 3 options where you want to cover these big guys. And then you also know that you have Jake Ferguson as well. So these corners, that's going to be the matchup I'm going to look at, because if you're able to shut down CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, it seems like going to be a really good game for the Philadelphia Eagles.
One final thing just to put in there. In terms of season leaders, Dak Prescott has 600 more yards. Javonte Williams has 150 more yards. George Pickens has nearly 250 more yards. And James Houston has more than half a sack. So in theory, all the stats, they're lean towards the Dallas Cowboys. However, the record, very much in a different place. So, but
yeah, I was just gonna say,
not the record wise.
You have a lot of stats, but where's the wins? Yeah,
in the
Eagles are
1900s. In the 1900s, man, that's what they are. All right, well, Alex, we appreciate you hanging out with us here on the show. Again, they got 1,000 subscribers over there, and I'm ready to put them in the dirt. So if we can just hit 10,000, that'd be great. If for some reason you're watching this as an Eagles fan, he does have good content at least, so go check him out. But for now, we appreciate you, and we'll see you next time here on Cowboys Digest, everybody. Peace out.